Have you ever wanted to be the first to know if aliens really exist? Well, with Nebula, you can be! Nebula is the streaming service that's home to It's Probably Not Aliens, as well as our YouTube channels. And the best part? All of our content goes up early on Nebula. So when we break first contact with ET, you'll be the first to find out. That's right, you'll be able to listen to the next episode of this show before anyone else. Plus, we post bonus content that you won't find any other place. And the best part? By signing up for Nebula at nebula.tv/probablynotaliens, you're directly supporting the show and both of us. So don't wait any longer. Join Nebula today and be the first to know if this time it really is aliens.
So this is about Göbekli Tepe. The biggest thing about Göbekli Tepe is that I think a lot of people's introduction to it was actually Netflix. And I remember being conflicted about Netflix having a lot of good stuff and then also having this like horseshit documentary with Graham Hancock.
What's going on with streaming services these days? Oh boy. Remember when they all used to have Friends on it, and now maybe one of them has Friends on it, and I don't know which one has Friends on it, so I gotta subscribe to all of them.
just so I can search for them as Friends.
Just for the one that has Friends on it. And I don't even watch Friends. What's the deal with that? So now it's going into a Seinfeld sort of angle as well.
And which one's got Seinfeld on it?
And which one's got Seinfeld on it? What's the deal with that? And then if I had it on my soundboard, I would play the Curb Your Enthusiasm thing, and they would go dun, 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 and then we would
which
all come
one's
back
got Curb Your
together
Enthusiasm on it?
And which one's got Curb Your Enthusiasm on it? And that would be my whole stand-up set that I did. I'm working on a tight 5. It's actually pretty tight insofar as it is not 5 minutes yet.
It's only a minute.
That's what I have so far.
My tight 5, if I ever get to do it, will be to be able to very faithfully in both presentation and content just do bits from the one episode of Star Trek The Next Generation where Data tries to learn stand-up comedy and it's extremely bad. And he always has like a cigar in his hand. He's always going like this because he learns from some like hologram of who does like kind of like old vaudeville type stuff.
Oh, that's good. I like that. But just play it. You have to play it totally straight is the thing. You have to play it totally earnestly because then it's funny. I've noticed that me and my wife Emily have very there's one specific comedian that is polarizing for between me and Emily, and I get it, and I fully get it. I have immediately forgot his name, even though he is extremely popular. Let me look it up.
Is it Tim Robinson?
It is fucking Tim. You got it right. It is Tim Robinson.
Yeah, he'll do that.
You nailed it. Exactly.
Well, and this is good. This is good material because he's got a new show that just premiered like last week.
I know.
It's really good. It's so fucking good.
We watched it last night and I was laughing so much and Emily was just cringing. And I'm just like, no, but it's the cringe is part of the fun.
The next day, actually later that day, like we watched it in the morning. Later that day, we went to like a farm because it's like we just had Thanksgiving weekend. So we like had to do like a bunch of like, we want to do like a family fun activity.
Thanksgiving.
Sure. But
not real Thanksgiving.
But we went to this like no, it was a couple days later. We went to this kind of like hobby no, it wasn't because I went to a bunch of places on the weekend, but I went to Fanshawe Pioneer Village. That's it, which is sort of like in the nature conservation zone in London where I live. The Fanshawe Pioneer Village, they like have like recreations of a bunch of like old pioneer era houses, but they also like have like some important houses that like were in London that like were going to get demolished. They like took them and moved them to this place and like restored them. for example, there's a replica there of the first Black church in Ontario, which is like in this part of Ontario is like a really big deal because before a certain point, Canada like was the end of the Underground Railroad. So like a bunch of escaped former slaves came to Canada. It was like a big deal. Either way, we came across we were at our walk there and we came across a wheelbarrow, and I was just like, don't tell anyone that wheelbarrow's outside. And
don't tell them. It was just this one time. Yeah, look, I think so far out of the one episode that premiered, The Chair Company, very funny, very good. But Tristan, I gotta ask, which streaming service has The Chair Company on it? Wow. And that's my type 5.
I don't want to get off on a rant here, but it's on the streaming service Easy TV.
It is a part of that.
That is a joke. I think I'm supposed to say that is a.
You're legally supposed to say it's a joke, and you should always legally pay for all the things that you watch, and enjoy.
Yep.
Like this podcast.
There you go. Streaming service on Nebula.
This is a podcast. Oh, wait, we actually do have a streaming service to pay for it ever. But which streaming service is this podcast available on?
Nebula.tv/probably not aliens. Because this is a podcast called It's Probably Not Aliens.
This is a podcast called It's Probably Not Aliens. This is a show where we look at ancient astronaut theory and the show Ancient Aliens, and we debunk it or just look into some cool stuff and learn about the real world history of cool places and cultures and people and artifacts and all that good stuff. It's a good show. This show, Ancient Aliens, is a bad show. Our show is a good show, and I'm one of the hosts of this good show. My name is Scott Nicewander, and I know nothing.
What streaming service are you on?
The streaming service I'm on is youtube.internet.tv.
My name is Tristan Johnson. I'm the one whom claws into the depths of hell to bring back whatever it is that came this week. And you can find me on Easy TV. Get a Plex server and download me on Easy TV. Have you ever heard of Turkey? It was Thanksgiving here last weekend, so
well, again, not the real one. It's a Canadian Thanksgiving, but yes. Yeah.
Well, real Thanksgiving this year is actually on my birthday, which I think I've said before. But
I appreciate you actually referring to the American Thanksgiving as the real Thanksgiving. Appreciate it. I'll take my small victories where I can.
To be fair, you guys make a much bigger deal out of Thanksgiving than we do. For us, it's kind of just like a little thing. For you guys, it's like a big deal, as I've learned. But
I have heard of Turkey, the country, and I am above making jokes comparing it to food. I'm sure it's all they hear about over there.
Yeah, or as they call themselves now, Turkiya. But did you know that in Turkey, we might have found evidence of a structure that could completely upend the way that we think about the history of humanity?
This is a bold claim that deserves one of these.
Yeah.
Incredible. Tell me more.
Well, as you know, if you are a listener to this show, that there is fundamentally two genders of how to talk about ancient sites. One is that it's the sign of alien intervention, or two, that it is the sign of an ancient Ice Age super civilization, sometimes called Atlantis.
Now, sometimes there's an overlap between these two, because then you're like, how did this super civilization get its advanced technology? Probably aliens.
Your choices are either aliens or they got so high they could lift rocks with their brains. Those are your two choices.
Those are your choices. Welcome to our show.
Like double references. But this is one of those. We're talking about a subject today that I have the double ignominy to talk about, because not only did Ancient Aliens talk about it in the episode we're covering today, and it's like a big part in the pseudo-archaeology space, but it was also very prominent on the Netflix. That's why we talked about streaming services. The Netflix abomination called Ancient Apocalypse, which I got I went semi-viral for making a 2+ hour YouTube video debunking. And to be about 75% as good as the Mini Minuteman video on the exact same topic. So we are returning where this is like where the two main streams of pseudo history, the alien route, the ancient aliens route, and the Graham Hancock route, both have played with Göbekli Tepe, which is the topic of this episode.
Yes. So it's everywhere. It's all over the Ancient Astronauts space and the Ancient Aliens TV show. It was even just a big part of this episode. If you are joining us, we're just starting a brand new series on this podcast, all about, I guess, ancient
structures.
Well, actually, hold on. I actually have a soundbite for this. I like to pull sound bites. This is what this season's topic will be about.
Unexplained structures.
They make it sound so epic.
It's true.
Unexplained structures. And this is a big part of the episode of season 2, episode 8 of Ancient Aliens.
So much so that I'm just going to put this up front in case you're the kind of person who likes to whine about this. We're doing a 2-parter because Göbekli Tepe is a big one.
It's a big one.
So
huge. We're
going to talk about Göbekli Tepe, which genuinely is one of the coolest things that we have found. Which is odd. I feel like we're coming off of 3 episodes now where we're talking about genuinely mind-blowing discoveries.
Yes. Some recent, some less so.
Yeah, actually, this one is a pretty big deal about how not recent it is. Actually, the last one was too. But, okay. So, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about Göbekli Tepe. That's what it's called. So, millions of people around the world. Unfortunately, we have to do like competing shitty theories. Let's do this.
Oh, yeah. Here, let me hit this really quickly. Where is it at? Is it this? No, that's not it. I have too many things on my soundboard now. Oh, it is this.
So, Göbekli Tepe is a like a megalith structure, like made out of like really big rock structure. They were capable of moving big rock to make this structure.
They sure were.
The important thing about this space, though, that's really to talk about is its age, because Göbekli Tepe is, and this is not pseudoscience or anything. This is an actual fact. Nearly 12,000 years old.
That is wild. You know what's actually interesting about that, though?
What?
Is I know that that's a large number. I know that that's a huge deal. Like that is basically rewriting human history of like that's how they talk about it in the episode of just like this really unlocks an entire new huge chunk of human history that we didn't really know about. It also, for some reason, 12,000 years, maybe it's just off the tails of us talking about things that are
billions,
quite literally like the age of our universe, effectively. But I'm just like, 12,000 years, that's it? I mean, that's cool, but like, that's not that far. That's not that long, but it is.
Yeah. To give you a kind of idea, is that 12,000 years old puts it happening almost around the same time as the end of the Ice Age, the last Ice Age.
The franchise?
Yeah, the last Ice Age movie.
The last Ice Age movie, Ice Age 3D.
Ice Age
Actually,
Pi?
I think there was another one after that.
Now, just to give you so one of the things I'll give you for a sense of scale, the pyramids of Giza often get brought up as an insanely old construction because it's one of like Cleopatra was like the last Egyptian pharaoh, and she is closer to our time than she was to the pyramids, right?
Yes.
The pyramids are roughly about 4,600 years old.
Okay.
So
this is 3 times that long ago.
Yeah, close on that, yeah. Isn't that
Tristan,
fucking crazy?
Great news. Yes, it is absolutely wild, and And just to close the book on this one, I do have great news. There is going to be another Ice Age movie in 2027. Even though I was pretty sure at least 2 of the movies dealt with the fact that there was another like world-ending cataclysmic event. But that's okay. We're doing another one.
Well, they have to, because those movies started off as Ray Romano and Dennis Leary being their star power, and now I think it's the only thing that's getting them paid.
That might be true.
So,
oh well.
Okay, so Göbekli Tepe is fucking ancient. The Mesopotamian Fertile Crescent is almost 7,000 years old in that. Now, if you were to believe Graham Hancock's and Netflix documentary, this doubles the age of human histories and contradicts everything that mainstream archaeologists would say about human history. Womp womp.
Mm-hmm. This is huge.
Yeah.
This is game-changing.
And that mainstream archaeology has been wrong about this, because if you look at some carbon-13 dating and 13 years of German excavation, that everything that the archaeologists have been putting forward, or everything that the archaeologists have been saying about our history, is wrong. Despite the 30 years of research on this site by archaeologists, and probably the source of all the information that they got for...
Tristan, are we gonna trust mainstream archaeologists on this show when there's vague other people who believe in something else that is probably better and cooler?
And had a documentary with Joe Rogan on it?
I mean, what, the most popular podcast on the planet can't be wrong.
Yeah. It's, what's it called? Well, us as the liberal Joe's Rogan, as we've established.
Don't call me a liberal. Hold on, first of all, don't actually call me a liberal.
Sorry, as the communist Joe's Rogan.
Thank you.
We are, here's the thing. Here are some of the claims made. One, it would have been impossible for the people this time to do it, because this was like the Stone Age. Like, humans were literally just coming out of the Ice Age. Mm-hmm. No stone cutting tools or agricultural implements are found. After 13 years of looking at the site, there's no tools.
No tools. They make a big point of that. Huge carvings, very straight lines, very intricate. No tools.
No tools.
Where are they? Where are the tools?
Yeah. And also that it would have been impossible to do anything with these, with this type of technology, because these columns are 19 feet tall, each of them weighing 15 tons, that have precise edges and detailed relief carvings. So how in the world can you contemplate, I think this is actually a quote from the thing, how in the world can you contemplate 19-foot tall, perfectly sculpted columns that are 11 to 12,000 years old and no tools?
No tools. This is the thing. We always talk, we talk about this a lot on this show. Lots of like big stone walls or stone carvings with intricate detail. And everyone's always like, where are the tools? Where are the fucking tools, Tristan? Where are the tools? Tools are gone. There were no tools. How did they do it?
Did they either did they get alien help? Did they get really high and were able to cut rocks with their brains? We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea was that there's this theory that the builders who made this site were fully formed, advanced peoples who had just come out of the darkness of the last ice age, who already had the sophisticated knowledge. This is basically like the main thesis that Graham Hancock pushes in his idea. That's what all of Ancient Apocalypse is about. He goes to a bunch of sites and cites a bunch of extremely dubious analyses of these sites, or he stands near the sites because people recognize who he is and don't let him into the site, which happens in one of the parks. I think like the Serpent Mound or something like that, where he's like, he literally has a part of the episode where he's bitching about how they won't let him come onto the site to film because they know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like made by ancient indigenous people, and they're like, yeah, fuck you.
Fuck you, dude.
But not only that, but a lot of these sites and these carvings depict what looked like evidence of Noah's Ark.
This was interesting. Because they were just, from my understanding, it was just these big stone pillars and sculptures that look Like they have, they've got like different animals on them. And it's really, that's kind of about it, at least as far as the episode went. I don't know if you have any more information on it, but it is just, there's like different animals. Like each kind of stone has a different animal on it. And so it sort of looks like some sort of menagerie or something. Like a Noah's Ark.
There's something interesting in that, yeah. And just also just like, but like this builds into another thing, which is part of a common Graham Hancock and Ancient Aliens crossover belief, which is that there was some kind of major flood that like hit like most of the world at a certain time around the end of the Ice Age, and that this was part of it.
All that ice had to go somewhere, melted, flooded. That's how it works.
Yeah, it's if you guys are interested, where all that ice went, the ocean. Famous location for plenty of the world's water. Look at you know how like they talked about how humans crossed to North America on a land bridge, or how Britain got its first humans by humans crossing a land bridge in the English Channel, because the ocean was lower, so there were land bridges.
Then the ice melted,
and water go up
into ocean, and water go up.
There you go, water, everybody.
Great episode, Tristan. I think we've solved a lot today.
But the idea is that it's all this is the evidence why it's proof that it's of Noah's flood. Its location is only 350 miles from Mount Ararat, which is where Noah's flood happened. Or Noah happened? I'm not a Bible scholar, but Noah had a Mount Ararat thing.
Noah, I think, landed the ark there, is the idea.
See, in my head, Mount Ararat is where Baal is destroying and corrupting the World Stone.
Okay.
But that's because I didn't read the Bible, but I did play Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction. So
hell yeah, dude. And look, yeah, like you said, it's just a jog away, 350 miles. Just around the corner, basically.
Just a breezy, what would in that day be like several day long trip. Anyways, that you can find more than 2,000 myths of a great flood, which shows that there's cross-cultural verification of a major flood, and that the flood date pushed back to the end of the Ice Age supports this idea of there being a lost civilization that had, an Atlantis that got buried beneath the sea, and then they spread to all corners of the world and sort of were the very, very white progenitors of all of the other people of the earth. And that is sort of the general Graham Hancockian belief that that is why everybody owes their successes in civilization to white people. I mean, the Atlanteans. Yeah,
I mean, the white ones are the good ones, right? What can I say? What can we say? What can we as a podcast say and endorse? The white ones are the good ones.
I have read a lot of history books written by white people that seem to be very insistent that white people are the good ones.
They have this real thing about them where they're very insistent that the white people are the good ones, actually, and don't look more into that.
Don't ask any more questions, or else they'll shoot you with guns, which they took from Arabs. Anyways, so the other part too that is interesting is that there's claims that the site was deliberately buried. So like the site was deliberately buried under 20 feet of sand for preservation purposes. And so when it was discovered, it was in pristine condition, which suggests that it was intentionally hidden.
Yes. Okay. So this is the thing. This is the classic Ancient Aliens thing that they do, where even when because sometimes they don't want to draw a line in the sand, pun intended, about like why they think something happened. So they'll throw like 2 or 3 ideas in rapid succession because any one of them sounds exciting. So they'll be like, yeah, it was buried to like be hidden from people who might want to steal that information, or possibly it was buried because they were, that civilization was moving on and they cherished that knowledge so much that they gave it a proper burial or something like that, or some third thing, and
or a
so
third more sinister thing.
Yeah, they're just throwing spaghetti at the wall, I feel.
Yeah, that's a classic thing called the Gish Gallop, where you just throws so
Yeah.
many things at them in a short amount of time that it feels more convincing just by like just by that.
Oh, the third thing that they suggested was that it was buried so that it could be preserved so that modern humans like us could find it in good condition. So 3 possibilities, and they were not really willing to land on one. They actually had a little bit of a hands-off approach, which is very rare for ancient aliens to be like, I don't know, it could be any of these things. Normally they're very strong-willed about being like, it was actually this, it was secretly this, and this is the reason why. Whereas here they're just like, it could be any of these things because I don't know, we haven't really decided.
Which one do you find most convincing? That's the one you'll learn.
Yeah, which one do you think is coolest, and which one will get us better ratings? You decide.
Maybe they'll edit it later when like they decide which one has worked better. Okay, yeah, and so it's also similar megalithic sites suggest there's another connection between all these sites that were built for some kind of similar purpose, and that past cultures said that they were built by the gods, which asks, were they really gods, or could they have been
aliens?
There you go. There you go.
I have a great soundbite that I pulled from this episode that I would love to play here. This comes from our boy, our favorite, really, if Al the Space Potato ever dies as our mascot, I feel like our next mascot is probably David Childress.
Self-described, described by other people as modern day Indiana Jones.
Modern Indiana Jones, yep, absolutely. He has this absolutely fantastic quote that I paused the episode to laugh at out loud by myself. I think it's wonderful, and I would love to play it for you right now.
You have to ask yourself, why is someone building these massive structures all over the world? And many of them are very similar. It leaves us to think that there is some connection between all these ancient sites, that the builders were all doing it for a similar purpose.
So you literally like the quotes of the episode are like literally in the notes. I was like, oh wow.
It literally the very first, because they're just talking about like, oh, like there are different structures around the world, these all stones and different things like that. And just this opening line, this one right here.
You have to ask yourself, why is someone building these massive structures?
Why is someone building these massive structures?
Who's this guy?
Dave,
let me talk to this guy who's making all these structures.
Who told you it was one guy, Dave? Dave is like, he sees a couple different stone structures, ancient stone structures, and he's like, who is this one fucking guy obsessed with these stone structures who keeps building them around the planet and all these different continents? Who is this guy? You have to ask yourself, Tristan. Dave says you have to ask yourself, who is this guy?
Who is this guy? Okay, so yeah, and oftentimes, these cultures say these were built by the gods, and so they'd be like, oh well, we know on Ancient Aliens at this point, if something was built by the gods, then we know that it was, tractor beams and UFOs.
Yeah,
and that the reason why this comes up in like a greater collaborated platform, and this comes up in this is sort of in the Graham Hancock theory too, is that you see a convergence of technological development, specifically around monument building and moving big rock, that seem to imply either a international transfer of knowledge that was done through aliens, or that these are all from the diasporic techniques of Atlanteans or whatever in this advanced civilization that existed during the last ice age. So I feel like that is like a very succinct. You watched the episode like today, so do you feel like that's a pretty succinct coverage of like their Göbekli Tepe take?
Oh, absolutely. It's basically, it's like 5 minutes of them being like, look at these cool structures. We couldn't find tools, but look at these cool carvings and how interesting, and maybe it's connected to Noah's Ark or something. and then like another 5
I feel like it'd be
minutes
funny
of
if they
them-
talk like maybe it's connected to Noah's Ark or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's connected to Noah's Ark. Who knows? Hold on. As a side note, one of my favorite things that the narrator of Ancient Aliens always does is whenever they're talking about a great flood in any of these episodes, and it comes up a lot, as we made a whole episode about it on this podcast. Whenever he talks about it, he always uses the same verbiage, the same exact terminology, which is a flood of biblical proportions. And he just says that
'Cause
every
it's a
single
Bible
time.
You need that picture
It's
of
the
what's it
Bible.
called? You need an audio version of that meme with Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the TV with the can.
Yeah, just like, hey. He said it. I get it. I recognize it. Hey, good one.
I know things.
Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, they talk about how cool it is a little bit, but then it's all just like, and this is just one part of the puzzle, one piece, one little conspiracy about who's building all of these around the world. And there's so many different stone structures around the world, and they're all a part of some sort of energy grid and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we're getting to pieces of the big theory, you know.
Pieces of the big theory. And Tristan, I know you're gonna spend the next half of this episode telling us about the real history behind, or at least of what we know of this very interesting, very important site in human history. But before you do that, I would like to just play one final soundbite that I think is going to be a permanent stay on the soundboard.
Oh boy.
And it really taps into maybe potentially my role on this show and really just the vibe of Ancient Aliens in general. So before you debunk their claims, I want you to just think about all the weird stuff they've said so far, all the weird conspiracy things, all the, non-proven, oh, it could be this, it could be that, and really just ask yourself one question.
What if it were true?
What if it were true, Tristan? What if it were true?
Instead of it being bullshit, what if it were true though?
What if it were true, Tristan?
You know what? If were true, product and service. Nailed it.
Right,
Nailed it.
Let's do it. Oh, I have to hit a button, don't I? Sorry.
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Tristan, what if it were true?
What if it were true? What if it were a lot of things? Yes.
I know they're saying a lot of crazy stuff, Tristan. They're saying a lot of wild things, all right? But remember, just think.
What if it were true?
Yeah.
Imagine it was true.
And the thing is, and what I think is probably one of the cooler things about this claim and this story is that some of the craziest shit that they do say about Göbekli Tepe is true.
Whoa.
So-
Hold on. Wasn't expecting that. Pretty awesome.
Oh, I thought you were looking for a button.
I was thinking about it, and then I realized I don't really have a button.
You need a
So
button
I'll just-
to
What's here? What's
See,
one that I haven't?
Why
hit
why
yet?
in the 23rd century did they not give Christopher Pike a roadcaster duo? He could have expressed so many
Yeah.
more ideas than just beep 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 beep.
Beep 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 beep. What's a button I haven't hit in a while? This one. There you
Yeah.
go.
So let's talk about how old Göbekli Tepe is. Göbekli Tepe is very old. those claims about Göbekli
Okay,
Tepe.
all right. Another great episode, Tristan. Man, we're pumping them out today.
Göbekli Tepe is as old as they said on the show. Göbekli
They got
Tepe
that right. That's good.
So Göbekli Tepe is approximately 11,500 years old, which is actually accepted mainstream archaeology. They kind of implied that it wasn't, but it is. That does put its construction to approximately 200 years after the last ice age. And it was in
which again, I have to stress the last ice age is yet to come in 2027. It's called Ice Age Boiling Point. All of our boys are back. Ray Romano, John Leguizamo, Dennis Leary, Queen Latifah, Simon Pegg. They're all here. The gang is back. Ice Age Boiling Point.
That squirrel that wants the frozen acorn, it's back.
It's back, baby.
The minions are in it somehow.
Yeah, it's a big crossover. It actually, the Ice Age Boiling Point ends right where the Minions movie starts, which I think is about the Minions having always existed throughout all of human history. So I didn't watch the Minions movie, but I think that's what it is.
Now there's an Ancient Aliens episode that we need where it's just like aliens live among us. It's just like these like banana people or whatever.
A papaya.
Yeah. I would love if you could like take like voiceovers from Ancient Aliens and just have like pictures from like the Minions. I feel like that would be like a joke that they would put in their own movie. But
that's pretty good. Anyway,
so this makes Göbekli Tepe 6,000 years older than Stonehenge and 7,000 years before the construction of the Great Pyramid. So extraordinarily fucking old.
Hugely old.
Yeah. And it's from it also fits perfectly within the specific understanding of this period, which is called the pre-pottery Neolithic period, which again was around 9600 to 8700 BCE in southeastern Turkey, which is where it exists. Based on, and so like this is like an area that we have done a shitload of archaeology on, and Göbekli Tepe fits very well into how we understand that period.
Yeah.
It's also it's also not alone. It's part of a larger pattern that we see of monumental architecture that emerged across the Fertile Crescent at this time. So, for example, this is how you can see the like evolution of the ideas that would lead to Göbekli Tepe. One of the major designs of Göbekli Tepe is a stone T-shaped stone pillar, which it
looks like the Teen Titans Tower.
Mm-hmm. And
if you need a reference.
Yeah, and the thing is that these stone-shaped pillars do actually show some advanced construction techniques for the era, but it is what I think is important is that this shows like advanced construction techniques that do show up in other places in this era, but it is before some other kinds of inventions like pottery and domesticated plants and animals.
Okay. A little ahead of its time.
Well, maybe not. The whole idea of Göbekli Tepe is that what we thought of as like the natural progression of the sort of evolution of technological stuff in societies that could like make something like this might be wrong. Because like not only does this region have other similar types of architecture, what this all coalesces is for us to believe that there is that the timeline, like we're putting the cart before the horse, that like we used to think that you had to have agriculture to have civilizations, to have cities, to be able to have the sort of manpower and calories to then build the monuments. And this shows that actually there may have been that monuments might predate like the farming, and actually it doesn't say that it might. It does. It establishes that because it's before farming really became a thing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is that there are several other sites in the Stone Hills dating back to this period, and indicates that there was a larger tradition in Neolithic monumental architecture. So we see other ones in the period. Southeastern Turkey were transitioning from, in this period, what was going on with the people of this part of Turkey is that they were moving from what we would think of as a more hunter-gatherer lifestyle to something that was more sedentary.
Okay.
And so, while I would say that like this does predate agriculture, it doesn't predate it by much. And things like animal and plant domestication were just starting to take off, and there was some attempts to try to get that going. But still, these are societies that still largely relied on wild cereals and hunting. And it was just like a very good strategic location to do so because of like natural resources, which could support these kind of like constructions.
Yeah, they found a nice place to settle down.
Mm-hmm. Now, when the ancient aliens people say that like this contradicts everything we understand about the development of humanity, that's not how archaeology works. It doesn't contradict human development. It expands our understanding of what hunter-gatherers are capable of. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like the big thing that Göbekli Tepe does and what its like sort of contribution to archaeology is that we realized that this period where people were hunter-gatherers were actually capable of a lot more than we would think. And that their civilization was more complicated than we anticipated. Like, we had a very simplistic idea of how people lived in this period, but it seemed like they had a lot more culturally going on, stuff that we would normally associate with more settled, like sedentary societies.
Mm-hmm.
And so things like the fact that at this site, there's evidence of feasts, that there's these intricate carvings, and of course, being able to coordinate the labor to build Göbekli Tepe shows that even though they didn't have agriculture, they did have advanced social organization, which really upends our sort of concept of like the natural progress of how civilizations develop, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And I believe that it also, and the other thing that it shows is that it shows that religion or rituals and shared rituals might have driven social cooperation and actually might have been the catalyst towards settled life and agriculture. So this actually puts everything in reverse. So we used to think that religion and organized spirituality, like organized rituals and stuff like that, were the result of more sedentary societies. But this might imply that the rituals associated with the spirituality and the religion were the thing that brought people together and coordinated enough that they could start doing sedentary society and they could start doing farming and start developing civilizations.
Interesting.
And not to say that this is true in every single context, but what it does show is that, like, kind of in, my, twisted technology history brain kind of way, is that
twisted South Park brain of yours.
But like, the thing is, we have this idea, this notion, because we come from we live in an industrial society where we have been in a extremely, like, we see technology as this progressive line of like inventions that lead to more and more productivity and everything like that. But technology doesn't necessarily work that way. And the idea that like in one part of the world, like a lot of people I think of technology in the way that you see technology portrayed in like video games. You look at like Civilization and stuff like that, and you see technology 1 that is dependent for technology 2 and technology 3. And like it's like a tech tree or something like that.
Yeah, it's like a skill tree where you're just like, I need to upgrade my ship's thermal exhaust so that I can have a more powerful engine later.
Exactly. But turns out, like with anything that humans do, it's more complicated than that, and it doesn't always follow those rules. And so what we thought of, like, if you were to play Civilization, agriculture would be required before masonry or before, stone, like the monument making. But in reality, those don't necessarily have to follow. There's nothing that actually forces you to do that. And so you can actually have that. And it shows that this model can happen, at least in this one example. There's also another thing. The way that they talk about Göbekli Tepe's building, they talk about it as being like, oh, they suddenly were able to do all this impressive stuff. But if you were to look at the archaeological record and the evidence, we actually see that Göbekli Tepe did not happen overnight. And that we see if you look in like this sort of, not only in like the region, but at the site itself, you can see a evolution of technique as they got better at ways to make these kinds of things. Like, for example, we see a lot of evidence at Göbekli Tepe that there were several repairs done to it, and also several times that they completely rebuilt it. So it's been rebuilt several times, and it was repaired several times because this part, this part of Turkey is subject to earthquakes and also landslides. And so Göbekli Tepe has been damaged multiple times over the years. And so, and we have evidence of people fixing it or remaking it.
Cool.
Yeah. And in other regions, we also see evidence that there was a sustained, evolving use of the site and construction practices adapting as they gained new experience and knowledge over generations that built it.
But where are the tools? What do you mean construction practices? Where are the tools?
Well, that was the weird thing about that because there is a lot of evidence at Göbekli Tepe of domestic structures, tools, and food processing areas that show that not only was Göbekli Tepe like a religious site, but also was like an active, like it was a settlement. It was a place people lived, and there was ongoing construction all the time. So that entire thing about there being no tools is actually not true.
Not true.
No.
See, here I was assuming that it was one of those things where the tools that they used were just like, things that would disintegrate over time or something, return to the earth or what have you. But there actually were tools and they just lied about it.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Ancient aliens lied to me?
Yep.
Oh.
So yeah, but we have the thing is that Göbekli Tepe is like one of the most intensely studied sites in the world. And analysis has shown that the builders had increasing, you can see the process of how they built it over time. And you can see a process of increasingly sophisticated planning, better use of geometry for layout, and just better design. And so, yeah, I would say that when they said there were no tools, there were tools found. And how much they lied is actually the scale to which they were wrong is quite impressive, because there have been tools discovered there as early as 1963. And since then, we've discovered over 3,000 tools.
Okay. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot to ignore. That's a lot to just pretend don't exist.
Yeah. Around the site of Göbekli Tepe, we have been able to find flint tools. So we have
Flintstone?
Yep, Flintstone. I mean, this is
basically... You can't just walk by... You can't just say Flintstone and pretend like we're not going to draw attention to it.
It's fair. This is basically Flintstones, period. You can see there's knocked over cars with giant ribs attached to them. There's...
oh my goodness.
There's brontosauruses to lift rocks.
There's a TV remote control that had a little spot inside for a bird to fly out and change the channel and go, it's a living.
Exactly. And what we see here, made out of flint, which was, this, a lot of the tools in this period were made with flint, which is a sort of stone that can get very sharp. And it was done through knapping. Have you ever seen stone knapping in practice?
Sleeping on the job.
Probably. It was a tough job. But have you ever seen stone knapping before?
I've never heard of this, no.
So if I were to explain it to you, you would know. So what you'll do is you'll take a piece of flint, like a rock, and then you will hit it with another tool, break off a chunk.
Yeah.
You've got another chunk. You hit that, take off a flake, and you kind of just keep doing that until you get this kind of shape you need.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I just didn't know what it was called, yeah.
And then by the time you're getting to the end, you're using detailed tools like antlers and stuff like that. It's very hard. And for example, in Mesoamerica, instead of flint, they used obsidian, which was even crazier because obsidian can get way sharper than flint. And so you ended up with things like really impressive knives and weapons like the makawat and that. There was I think there was a Mythbusters episode about this that had a legend that a makawat could actually cut off the head of a horse.
Oh, shoot. I don't remember that episode. How many horses did Adam and Jamie go through that day?
I feel like they made a ballistics gel horse or something to do this. It might have also not been. I think actually, now that I think about it, it wasn't Mythbusters.
Like cowards.
I don't think it was Mythbusters, actually. I think it was like Deadliest Weapon or something, some other bullshit like that.
That makes sense. I was going to say, I don't remember that episode of Mythbusters, and I'm pretty sure I've seen all of them. I was a big old Discovery Channel nerd.
For reference, a makuat is like it's a Aztec weapon that looks like, the closest thing I could say is a cricket bat, like a sort of like flat wooden thing. And then what they did is around the edges of it, they had these obsidian blades. And so what you would do is you would hit and rake like that, and it would cut really deep like a saw.
Like a bread knife. Yeah.
Basically.
Or a saw, which, is similar.
Like a bread knife, but a fuckload sharper. And one of those was rumored to be able to cut off the head of a horse. So anyways, spaces adjacent to also major enclosures contained hundreds more tools, and more than 7,000 grinding stones have been recovered, many showing wear from cereal processing. So it also shows that, like, not only were there tools for, like, there were over 3,000 tools made for building Göbekli Tepe, but you also see over 7,000 like other types of things that meant that they were like processing food and doing all sorts of stuff, which meant that, like, that's enough stuff to show that people were living at this site for a very, very, very long time, like multiple generations.
Awesome.
And they have like, you know, doing microanalysis of the carvings of Göbekli Tepe, they have learned very, very well that flint tools were used to do the carving and the shaping of all of these limestone pillars.
So they found the tools.
Yeah. The lithic specialists were able to trace napping techniques that were based on debris found at the site. So, like, it is very well established that we can show through lots of, like, you know, evidence that we know exactly how these things were made and what tools they used to make them. We find evidence of those tools. We find evidence of the wear and tear of those tools. We find the evidence of like, you know, evidence in like the sort of carving of the stone that shows evidence of using those kinds of tools, etc., etc. Another thing too is that then another common material used other than stone is bone. And there are several incidences of, there's lots of bone found at this site, both animal bones and human bones. And a lot of the animal bones had been turned into bone implements used for things like napping, but also other like kinds of tools that used bones as their construction material. But the human bones show, they do show like things that showed like there was like social rituals, there was burials, things like that. But even there were even some human bone fragments at the site that showed, all of them displayed modifications and marks that were made with stone tools, which means that they were either having ritual practices, such as like the treatment of skulls or anything. Basically, all I'm trying to say here is that there is so much evidence that the people here had tools that it is like actually ridiculous, this claim.
It is bending over, but it is hurting your spine so much because of how much bending over backwards that you are doing.
Yeah.
That it is unbelievable that it is impressive that they could just ignore the amount of evidence.
Yeah, this is like ancient aliens walking out of a Home Depot and saying like, there's no tools in there.
No fucking tools in there. Trust me.
Yeah. The other thing too is that we have looked at other Neolithic peoples and their use of simple tools when it comes to working with stone. And all of the stuff, all the techniques that were used at Göbekli Tepe fall well within documented capabilities that Neolithic people had when it came to shaping stone, including coordinated labor, rope, and wooden rollers. Because there's one thing we have fucking learned on this show, is that moving big rock is hard, but it doesn't require sophisticated technology. You can move big rock.
How do you move it?
Yeah.
Nope.
How do you move it?
How do you move it?
Yeah, you can move big rock with rollers, with rope, and a lot of people. So all you really need to do is get a bunch of people, some pizza, a rope, and some wooden rollers, and you can move some pretty fucking big rocks.
Oh, yeah. And if someone has a Bluetooth speaker and a Spotify premium account where you can play like home chores playlist that has like all the hits that
Just
all the
playing
parents
fight song on
and
loop.
it's playing fight song on loop. Hell yeah. That's what, when we were painting our cabinets before we moved into our home, all we did was play like home, like it was just like home renovation, like everyone who makes all the playlists on Spotify, you're doing good work. I don't even use
my brain
Spotify.
thinking with Spotify playlist of home renovation things. My brain just goes to like the soundtrack for like The Sims, like the first Sims game, like that, like
perfect.
It's like that, like happy kind of plucky piano music and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Good stuff.
So the thing is that, and also like Neolithic people were able to move. We have evidence that Neolithic people could move stones as heavy as 50 tons using ropes.
Nice.
And unfortunately, I found this, like they would use ropes, wooden rollers, sledges, and then water would be used as lubricant.
All right.
And I gotta say, I did not know why or how. I was kind of turned off by how much, or turned on by how much the word lubricant was used as like talking about ancient construction techniques.
Look, water-based lubricants are so important. If
they don't melt your toys,
they don't melt your toys. They keep everything safe. If you know what I'm saying, like it's all good stuff. Water-based lubricants, it's the way to go. All right.
So they're just taking these holes, filling them with Astroglide, and then putting 50-pound rocks into them,
slipping them on through.
If you think about it, like they just put it down and just push it and just went.
It's off.
Yeah, and also like again, contemporary sites around the region also show that they use similar construction techniques and they had similar organization capacity. A few sites we have are Kahran Tepe. Şakoyun. Okay, this is Turkish. I took a little bit of Turkish, but
you're doing great.
Şayonu and Gusir Hoyuk. Those are sort of other sites that are around Göbekli Tepe. They have those T-shaped limestone pillars that were carved from other adjacent quarries, decorated with reliefs that were very similar to those at Göbekli Tepe, and also have plenty of evidence to show how they shape those rocks and how they put them into the places that they're in. So it's like not even Göbekli Tepe is not even like unique in the area. It's just maybe like one of the oldest and biggest ones.
Yeah.
The thing that really sticks out to Göbekli Tepe is not so much like how do you move it, but it is how do you move it? Who do you get to? How do you move it?
Why do you move it?
Why do you move it? Why do you move it? Now that is basically like the bigger interesting question that archaeologists are trying to solve the site. Why do you move it? Because what this shows is a significant ability to organize labor at a time when we didn't really think that they could do that. And so Göbekli Tepe was one of the first discoveries and a line of discoveries that now has us show a very different picture into how social organization worked amongst hunter-gatherer civilizations that really changed things. So a lot of archaeological experiments and ethnographic data suggest that a group that is about 12 could move these stones, but also basically like the range is like you could have a few hundred people organized, be able to move these stones. Some theorists said that you could have as few as 12 people be able to move these to be able to make a Göbekli Tepe if they really wanted to.
Just a dozen of your boys.
Yeah, it really just depends upon what techniques they had available and what resources they had available. So if
that's a moderate sized like bachelor party. I think I had about 12 people at mine. You were there. Would you have wanted to help me move Big Stone?
It would be very funny if like after like we had been drinking, it was like 1 a.m. You're like, all right, guys, I got some rope and some wood rollers.
Hold on, wait. I got some rope, but hold on, wait. There's more. I got
some rope and some lube. And
hold on, wait, guys, wait a minute. Hold on. There's more to this, okay?
Listen, I got my rope. I've got my lubricant. I've got my wood.
Guys, and now let's get our rocks off, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh my God. Oh boy. Okay. So this shows though that it was feasible to build Göbekli Tepe with large communal efforts, but also as small extended family teams. You know, you and a bunch of your cousins could have been able to build something like this. And this was confirmed using like experimental archaeology, which to me sounds like the most fun academic field that exists, where you just get a bunch of people to try and see how they did a thing by just doing it. Like, let's just go make an Easter Island head. Like, let's just do it and see how it goes.
Okay.
So how
Patreon stretch goal. You and me make our own Easter Island head just to see.
Oh my goodness. You know what? I think we're going to get into in this season a guy who made basically like a Stonehenge kind of thing in his own backyard.
That is true.
If I had a big enough rock, I would make an Easter Island in my backyard.
It would be cool. We could do it.
Yeah. Recent experiments, show that that Neolithic communities would possess this knowledge and the skill, and then they could just pass it down to people before. So like this is all stuff that people knew and existed. So all this is to say is this, that there were tons of tools, and they very, 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 very much had the capacity to do this kind of thing because we've seen it in other places. Turns out, throughout all of Ancient Aliens time, one of the number one things you could discuss to like get somebody out of Ancient Alien stuff is just show that there are many ways to move a big rock.
Yep. So many. In fact, there are fewer ways to not move a big rock at this point.
Yeah. So the other thing too, let's kind of go to like the sort of stuff about the claims about there being a flood and the Bible and everything.
Ooh, we can do that. Here, I've got a transition sound effect.
Perfect. So looking into this, I'll talk about a couple things. One, the investigation into the animal symbolism at Göbekli Tepe. These like, carved animals. What it seems to be more related to is systems related to seasonal cycles, not flood survivors. You do see what is very interesting. You see a lot of diversity in the animals there. You see snakes, foxes, boars, vultures, gazelles, and more. But it seems like we're most likely seeing that they're connected to spiritual beliefs or rituals, or possibly even the observation of seasonal cycles. So like this is sort of, it's tied to a lot, what you see commonly in a lot of civilizations at this point in their development, a lot of spirituality and religion based around seasonality, based around local wildlife, like the kinds of things that if you're a hunter-gatherer, you kind of depend on for survival.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and all of the iconography is very reflective of local ecology and the spiritual beliefs of the people in that area. There's no evidence we see here of a global catastrophe.
No big flood. No big boat. This was the other thing, too. They kept talking about it in reference to, like, oh, it's got all these animals, so it must be like Noah's Ark, because that had also lots of animals. And that really felt like it was the only connection they had, other than it being, like, a quick jog around the corner from the mountain that Noah theoretically landed at. But, like, I couldn't quite understand why they kept making that connection to Noah's Ark. I'm like, it's not like they depicted a boat of any kind. There was really nothing. I don't even think they didn't depict anything about a flood even. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, if there was anything that would stick out as strange, it would be like species that aren't native to that area, which we did not find. Everything there is local animals.
Yeah.
So
that was for sure one of the weaker arguments for me. I was just like, okay, it just feels like you threw in a Noah's Ark reference just so the narrator could once again say a flood of biblical proportions.
Yeah. And we've done an entire episode on this, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but the whole idea of there being a universal flood mostly just reflects the fact that people tend to need to live near water to do peopling stuff. And so it's almost a universal experience of humanity to experience some kind of flooding. And so...
yeah, when you live by water, sometimes
water comes to you.
Sometimes water gets more than you are used to.
Sometimes you need to go to the water, and sometimes the water comes to you. So it's not evidence of a single global event, but evidence of the fact that people have lived near rivers which notoriously break, and oceans that have swells and all those kinds of things. And it's a really great episode, and I believe it's one of our episodes that has our wonderful religious scholar Andrew Mark Henry Yeah, it's one of our great episodes that has Andrew on it. And also it is the claim that it's close to Mount Ararat. I feel like there's two things. One, 350 miles is very fairly long distance to like really be like, oh, it's just around the corner.
I know it is. I joke about this sometimes on the show, but it really does feel like they're being like, in the grand scheme of the entire Earth, 350 miles is basically right there.
Yeah. The other part that really seemed to like that they lost me on was that not only would that just be coincidental, but also like you're not really leaning into how old Göbekli Tepe is, because Göbekli Tepe is thousands of years older than the story of Noah's Ark.
Well, Noah lived to be like 900 years old or something like that. So,
God, I don't even know what I would do at 900.
He's old. I know. Emily's mom has this rule that
nobody's allowed to live to 900.
Yeah, that's her very hard and fast
she
rule.
Kills everybody who lives over 120. That's her job.
So far she's doing a pretty good job. No, she has this like rule that is kind of jokey, but maybe not really if you know her, where she's like, God, if I ever live to be over 100 years old, just pull the plug. I don't want to be that old. I don't want to be that old ever.
Even if I'm alive and I'm not on any machine,
900.
just pull all plugs. I don't care what kind.
Pull any plug near me, please.
Yeah. So like the thing is, so Noah's Ark, which does reference Mount Ararat as the landing site, does appear in the Book of Genesis, right? The Book of Genesis has its origins in traditions and texts from the early first millennium BCE, which we established was many thousands of years after Göbekli Tepe's construction.
That's just when it was written down.
Okay,
but all the events happened thousands of years
I mean,
before.
if you're like a hardcore enough Christian, you would believe that Göbekli Tepe is actually several thousand years older than the entire universe.
That's true, actually.
Actually, if you're a hardcore enough Christian, there are trees alive today that are older than the universe.
Look, much like dinosaurs, Göbekli Tepe was put on Earth to test our faith.
Oh my God. Can we add a third pseudo-history thing, which is that God put Göbekli Tepe there to test our faith?
Yeah, actually. So yeah, it is either alien technology, an advanced super civilization, or God put it there to test our faith.
Yep. Those are the only answers. We have now found a third gender of answers to things.
Hell yeah, dude. We did it.
Yeah. Okay. Other thing too is that the whole idea of it being buried and preserved is also just not true. So it like the evidence shows that like if you look at the sediment analysis of like the buried site, it was gradually covered by natural settlement and accumulation over thousands of years. There's no sign that it was deliberately buried. It was probably gathered because of natural sediment, but also they were constantly rebuilding it, having it collapse, and then like trying to like build another one on top of it. So like sometimes they would like bury part of it so they could build a new one on top of it, that kind of a thing. And also
it is interesting that like in all of the explanations that ancient aliens gave, not a single one was that it wasn't buried intentionally, right? It was either hidden, like intentionally buried so that they could hide it. It was either intentionally buried so they could preserve it, or it was intentionally buried because as a way to honor it as they moved on, like a burial. It was never in their minds that it wasn't intentionally buried, because that's the cooler thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
In ancient structures that are intentionally buried, it's cool rather than just like, I don't know, that's just what happens in that area. Sand forms over things, the wind blows, and the ground shifts.
Okay, so the thing is that so this is the whole thing. Experts in Ancient Aliens doesn't really like experts, but experts, when they say something happened, they don't just say it got buried. It got buried by time because we say so. They say because they have done something called like, they'll say, we know it's natural because we did pedosedimentary analysis to know that the processes that did that, and I had to look it up. Pedosedimentary is a reference to pedosediment, which apparently is like sedimental dirt. So it's like they have studied like the way that dirt acts when it is like compressed, and you can see the processes of it getting slowly buried over time by these processes.
Yeah.
And like you can imagine this with things like not only like just the general thing of time, but you see it through like slope slides, like things like basically like, like little like, landslide, things like that, erosion, and even weather events like floods or windstorms, things like that, eventually like slowly accumulating stuff on it over time.
Yeah.
And because like the thing is, if it was made by people, it would all be a uniform substance because they would have like done it all at one time, or even if they use multiple substances, the compaction over time, like the way that it gets compacted, would be different than if it had happened in little bits over a longer period of time.
Look, people study this stuff. People literally study the way that dirt moves and happens.
Yeah.
People study how dirt happens.
People study how dirt gets compressed because that's how you find out how old sites are. So like
it's important.
Yeah.
Dirt science is important.
Dirt science is very important.
It's hugely, it sounds like I have a jokey tone in my voice, but dirt science is so crucial.
Yeah. And like the thing is, like, while like if it was a uniform substance, like if you look at the dirt that Göbekli Tepe was buried with, you see limestone rubble, stuff that comes from, I don't know, all of the runoff from all of the tools that were used to cut the limestone. So like all of the sort of like rock version of sawdust, basically. You have other sort of like rocks and pieces. Animal bones are found in there randomly. There's like occasionally human bones found in there. And all of that mix shows that this is like what's called natural infill. And also just that it got compacted by sediment from higher areas. It also shows, you can see here, that there is evidence of gradually them abandoning or transformation in the site that's consistent with the changes in the sociological and environmental context of this region. Like the buildings the buildings that there were some early interpretations in the 90s that thought that Göbekli Tepe might have been intentionally buried as part of some kind of ritual closure period. But now, 30 years in, it seems pretty reasonable that this place had been buried several times through natural and human driven events. And in many ways, it's just gone. The only reason why it is in such good conditions is because this just happens to be a very arid region. It's very dry. It's a reason why the pyramids stayed for so long as well, because they live in a very stable, dry climate.
Not too long ago, as of this recording, I went to Las Vegas for a wedding. And one of the days,
the pyramid there is in great shape.
On the wedding day, the pyramid there is actually, it's so good. It's actually it's shinier, you'd think. But we went to see the
orb,
the red rocks, the red rock,
the Grand Canyon.
What are they called? Red Rock Canyon. We went to see Red Rock Canyon, and which is beautiful, by the way. I have so many pictures. We just drove around and took pictures. It's gorgeous. But similarly, they have a lot of like very old carvings from like, the indigenous people of the land, and that have survived specifically because of the same reason, like an arid climate, just like really nothing's affecting it. It's just sort of carvings into the rock that has lasted for ever. Also, in a funnier note, if you've ever been to Las Vegas, the roads in Las Vegas are immaculate because, for a similar reason, it just doesn't rain. And there's like nothing to weather the roads for the most part.
Yeah.
The roads in Las Vegas are very smooth and good.
Beautiful. So yeah, like dry is good. The reason, like, the places where we have dinosaur fossils is because, like, it's a place that's been relatively dry for millions of years.
Yes. I will say I've heard that the road, because it doesn't rain as much in Vegas, that when it does rain, the roads are infinitely worse than anywhere else because all of the oil from cars has accumulated for effectively years, and then it makes the road so slippery.
Yeah, I had an incident. Anyways, not in the Las Vegas roads, but okay. So the thing is, there's also the whole claim about
That's the problem with oil-based lubes, guys. Water-based lubes. Come on.
Learn. This. If there's one lesson you could take away from this episode, is that water-based lubricant is much superior. You can build stone infrastructure with it. Why are you bothering with this oil-based lube? Anyways.
Yeah.
Don't be like the streets of Las Vegas. Be like the ancient people who built Göbekli Tepe. Use water-based lubricant. Okay. So the other part too that is talked about is like how all these different sites around the world all developed like the exact same way. And the answer to that is nuh-uh. Because like there's all of these sites show
wait, hold on, no, wait, but wait a minute, Tristan, but wait a minute.
What if it were true?
Well, if it were true, we would see similar techniques used in all these places, but we don't. Like, the first thing that comes to mind is that, like, Göbekli Tepe is made by, like, carving these rocks and moving them. And I'm like, in Mesoamerica, their monuments and their things are built by taking lots of smaller rocks and kind of gluing them together with, like, a sort of stucco. Like, and, like, the ancient Egyptian ones, they're made by, like, taking, like, sandstone or limestone bricks and, like, using, like, a whole, like, system to cut them and move them. I don't know. It just seems like there's very different styles and architectural forms that are very unique to each civilization. The only thing that makes those things similar is that they built things out of rocks and were subject to the same laws of physics. Like, for example, you see pyramids everywhere because until we had, like, steel girders, we couldn't really build anything that was taller than 2 stories without the base getting bigger, or else it would do a thing called falling down.
That's correct. Yeah, we've talked about it a lot. Pyramids are a lot in a lot of places all over the world because it is an incredibly stable structure.
It's how you build a tall thing, just like before,
before skyscrapers.
Yeah,
it's before skyscrapers. If you wanted to build anything tall, it was basically a pyramid.
Yeah,
and skyscrapers weren't that long ago.
What we do find is that there are places where we do see similarities, but they're based on the fact that there are similar available materials or similar, like, needs. So that's like the main thing that builds it up. Like, Göbekli Tepe's T-shaped pillars are very different from the towers at, say, Tel Caramel or the platforms in Mexico. All of them are based on them having very, very different local geology, local resources, but also different needs for their communities.
Yeah.
And ancient references to gods and frameworks, even in the periods they lived in, did not necessarily need to be literal things. They are spiritual, religious frameworks that are designed and in the context of a culture that we don't even fully understand, and you definitely don't understand. And to just take it from its context and be like, nah, it was aliens, though, is to really not understand this civilization on its own merits. This is why the people who study this stuff spend decades trying to figure it out through the very, very few clues that they have.
It's why dirt science is so important.
It's why dirt science is so important. I feel like that should be just like a thing for, like, why we need to help archaeologists out. Like, dirt science, it's important.
Dirt science. Because when one of them makes a discovery, they hit pay dirt.
Mm-hmm. The thing, though, is also that there is a similarity in, like, these civilizations all having gods, because
Tristan didn't laugh at that joke.
It seems like gods and these kinds of myths are commonly found during these shifts towards social stratification, early religion, and communal identity at the onset of sedentary societies. Like all of these places that we're talking about that had like god kings and all these like pyramids and stuff like that, it's like it's all tied to around the time that society was transitioning to becoming like very agricultural, and they built it in that period. Like it's very like, it seems like it's a common thing in just the way that we develop social stratification, mostly because of superstructure and base. It's all laid out in Karl Marx's Capital, where society builds itself on top of the material relations that you have, and the material relations shape the superstructure on top of it, and it's like it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing that I don't need to get into today.
Welcome back to Communist Joe Rogan.
Communist Joe Rogan.
We're doing it.
I feel like I have it like almost as a prop at this point. I have my copy of Capital that's always lying around here somewhere. But yeah, like the thing is that similar types, if you were to go by like a straight Marxist analysis, which I know that, will probably have some people be like, oh, not today, commies. But like a straight up Marxist analysis would say that if you have a similar situation where people have a similar relationship to the means of production, then the superstructure on top of it, this sort of culture that builds on top of it, is going to have similar features because it's designed to keep the same relations of production. Like it's designed to keep a certain class that is on top of things and a certain class that is working. And in different types of societies, like say early agriculture, to keep this side up, you use similar justification methods, and i.e. you build a similar culture up around it. Not like, one for one, but there's going to be similarities. I know that was I'm trying to be quick, so I know that we're really, really over time. So,
and this is going to be a two-parter.
Yeah. So, the other claim that there's another claim too that came up in the episode, which is that a lot of Göbekli Tepe is still not excavated. And the idea is that they were trying to claim that it has been deliberately concealed to ignore some of the constraints, that it's being hidden from us because archaeologists are refusing to dig into these areas to find out what they mean, because it's
again this idea that it contradicts so much of human history, which makes it sound more like why they would want to cover it up.
Yeah, and here's the thing. That ignores a lot of the practical constraints of archaeology and also the preservation requirements of archaeology. Like these sites, like Göbekli Tepe is a slow, careful process. It has been being excavated for over 30 years at this point. I think they started excavating it in 1995. And the reason it's slow is because excavation is a agonizingly slow process, because these rocks, like despite the fact that they're like, they're stone, are in their kind of way fragile. And the artifacts around them, which are just as important for understanding how they were made and what the society lived up around them, is also very fragile. So everything needs to be meticulously, very carefully extracted and cleaned and kept in contextualized and understood. And so if you were to do a large scale digging or a very fast excavation, we've done that in the past and we ended up doing tons of damage to these sites. So we're being careful, extremely careful, because archaeology is about detailed recording, analysis, and often are okay with leaving untouched layers so that future researchers sometimes they'll find a place where they realize that things are really fragile or that they don't understand things. And they'll come to the conclusion that it would be best to not excavate that part because future generations might have better techniques that could better answer these questions. So they kind of try to leave things in the way they are as long as they can, so that even future generations will have examples of this stuff to look at with better techniques in the future.
Yeah, it's like if you've ever seen someone restore a painting. If your YouTube algorithm also has given you Baumgartner painting restoration videos, he will always use archivist paint when he's like doing touch-ups, so that future artists, restoration people might want to undo his work, and he makes it so it's easy to undo his work so that people in the future can take their crack at it with different techniques and different things.
Yeah, I know you're on the page, so I thought you were thinking of this, which was somebody who was
not the Jesus painting, not the Jesus repainting.
That has to be like
He
one.
looks like a weird potato monkey.
Well, potato monkeys. But also the thing is that like recent excavations at Göbekli Tepe are more focused on detailed documentation and protection of already exposed areas rather than expanding, digging into new sites. So they're kind of working more on what's already there and studying what's already there, because their main focus right now is to try and conserve what they have already dug up. The exposed stone, the exposed mortar, and the floors is the priority, because right now they're vulnerable because we dug them up. Weathering, erosion, and even things like rainstorms and stuff like that are now all threats to the site because we've dug it up. So a lot of our evidence has been like, let's study what we have now while it is in a shape that we can study it in, and also focus on ways that we can preserve what we've already dug up so that it can last even longer. And just the fact is, like, it's a slow process. And honestly, the best way to keep the site in good enough shape so that future generations can understand the site is to just not dig it up in the first place. And so that's why a lot of it is still buried. It's either like a practicality thing, a future-proofing thing, a preservation thing, or just the fact that archaeology is slow enough that after 30 years, they've only gotten this much done. Like, there's a whole bunch of different reasons.
Yeah. Just wait until we have like super high resolution ground radar and we can just like scan everything with like Batman sonar.
Exactly.
Then we don't have to dig things up.
Mm-hmm. The other problem too is that the evidence standard in this was awful. Basically, the Ancient Aliens provided, and even Graham Hancock both provide, and if you listen to the episode, it's really strange. They provide literally zero evidence that there was aliens. It's just like, this thing's fucking
Correct. Weird. It is just the really the only thing they have is the same thing they have with any of these old, stone structures, which is basically like, how did they do it so precisely? And so interestingly, when they couldn't have, because they were simpletons. They were big dum-dums.
Yeah.
How could they have done it? We can't even do it with our modern technology. How could they have done it when they're big dum-dums?
Yeah. I thought, though, one of the things, we talk often about like the standard of claims, like extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So I kind of came together and was like, all right, if Göbekli, kind of actually push the what if it were true button.
Oh, yeah. I'll hit it for you.
What if it were true?
This is actually, I think this is interesting. We should do this more often. So if Göbekli Tepe did have signs of alien intervention or technology, these are the kinds of things that would be what we would see and would make us suspect that something was going on. So one example.
New segment. What if it were true?
What if it were true? So one example is we would find clear artifacts that are anachronistic. We would find, for example, metal alloys or plastics or microchips embedded in the strata of Göbekli Tepe that were dated to 11,000 years ago. Because those are materials that we know can't arise naturally and would demonstrate that they had technology levels far beyond what Neolithic people could have. Like, if you found steel, that would be a big deal.
Be huge.
Or plastics, because plastic didn't exist until like the 1950s or whatever. Like, that's an example. It would also help if you were to find evidence of blueprints or writing systems. Like, if you were to find at the site inscribed tablets that had schematics of machines or mathematical notation that shows that maybe like calculus was used in its design, or explicit astronomical models that predict like, Neptune or something like that, those would show levels of like scientific knowledge that they would not have had access to.
Right. If you found an iPhone running the current iOS 26 software, when at that time, 12,000 years ago, it would have been running maybe iOS 2 or 3 at earliest, then that would be a pretty dead giveaway.
Or even an Android.
Yeah, that's, oh my gosh, don't even get me started.
And before people come at me, I'm a Pixel loyalist at this point. So the other thing too is we would have found evidence of biological evidence, because things that are alive leave residue of some kind.
Poop.
Yeah, or poop. Poop is you know what? Poop science matters.
Poop science matters.
Yeah. So like, for example, if we found fossilized remains at the site that had non-human DNA or signs or markers of genetic engineering, that would be a sign, because like the thing is that, you know, we have found, like, when we do CRISPR stuff to DNA, we can actually see, like, there's signs that DNA has been engineered, and if there was something like that survived, that would also be a big marker to us. But
huge.
We don't see that. We see actually a lot of evidence of wild cereals and a lot of what's called incipient domestication, like kind of like accidental domestication. Which is sort of exactly what you expect from this period. What we do know, which is that it's a sign of people who are experimenting with like the beginnings of what would become agriculture, but not quite. There would also be ideas that they might have astronomical precision that are beyond what someone in the Neolithic age would know, like being aligned with not just like the stars, but things like pulsars or black holes or other kind of stellar phenomenon that are invisible unless you have a telescope. And then you would also see, if you wanted like examples of like a global synchronization with identical technology, you would have carbon dated sites worldwide that all show the same construction methods, same tool marks, and materials traced to a single source or species. Like you would find like stone that was from one particular site way far away from everywhere, that like that kind of stuff. Showing
right. It wouldn't just be many cultures around the world have arranged different stones in different ways.
Yeah.
And that's interesting to us. That's suspicious.
Yeah.
And they all did it at different times. Isn't that suspicious?
That's suspicious. That's weird.
No, man. Yeah, no, I don't think it's that suspicious, actually.
Yeah. So, like, if you were to say that, like, all of these global civilizations had the same techniques, you would have evidence like that. Like the fact that they all use these kinds of tools, and they had materials all related to the same origin or something like that. But you don't see that. And lastly, you would also see evidence of contact, you know, carvings depicting spaceships, engineering features, instructions, or even alien technology.
This is one of the only times that the show Ancient Aliens doesn't. I thought for sure they were going to look at some of the animals carved on some of these stones and be like, could this be a bird, or could it be an alien visitor? But no, they were just like, and they carved a bird.
That's weird.
Just like Noah's Ark, I think.
And here on this stone is carved the full lyrics to Christa Berg's A Spaceman Came Traveling, in which he implies that aliens were the three wise men that visited Jesus. That's a real song.
And isn't that interesting?
So then so then the part that I want to kind of talk about next time is why then, if the argument is so bad and so weak, why do we have these stories in the first place? And why are they so appealing, and why do they keep coming back? You'll find out next week.
A good
in
place
part 2.
To end it on. Well, yeah. Come back and visit us. Yeah. Oh, but you know what? Actually, if you're listening to this on the main feed, you can get episodes early by going to Patreon.
What streaming service is it on?
Aliens, or I was getting there, Tristan. Or you could subscribe to. Oh no, what streaming service is this on? Is our show on?
I feel like we are actively annoying in this episode.
Nebula.tv/probably not aliens. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're annoying.
That's okay.
You can follow the show at Probs Not Aliens on Blue Sky and other places. But Tristan and I do things outside of this show. Tristan, what do you do?
I do a YouTube channel called Step Back, where I make talks about the future, or no, past, the opposite of the future. And I talk about things.
One of the two.
Yeah, I talk about things about why, like, the present and the past meet each other, and why that is important, because we seem to always have a very, like, everything that's happening right now has never happened before, and I'll be like, psych, it's actually happened a lot. This episode is probably coming out in January, December. So if you see this, my next video is going to be on, it's either on Africa, which was my video about how there's something going on in Africa right now that is one of the largest geopolitical shifts happening in the world, and is going to shape the next century of our planet. And we aren't hearing about it because all the stuff is happening in French. Or it's about India, and specifically about Hindutva, Hindu nationalism, which is this crazy huge video project now I've been working on for almost a year. But if I wanted to know about the purpose behind Spider-Man's hand gestures, where would I go? And also to see you wearing one of those fuzzy Russian hats.
Oh, fun. No, I don't think I made that video, Tristan. I think God put that video on Earth to test your faith, actually. Yeah. But if you want to see the other videos that I've made more recently, you can go to my YouTube channel, NerdSync, NERDSYNC. That's how you spell it. That's me. It is in the middle of October when we're recording this. I have 4 sponsored videos that need to be up this month. I've done none of them. So wish me luck over the next 2 weeks to get 4 videos out. This will be fun. You can also, like I said, support the show. We really appreciate it. It helps pay for the editors, and we so appreciate the editors. Editor, put in your favorite sound effect right here, and you don't have to run it by us. Just put whatever you want right here. What a good sound effect. I love that one. You can also leave reviews of this show on your favorite podcast app, wherever you're listening. Reviews, ratings, it all helps us out. You can tell your friends about this show as well, assuming you have friends. I think you do. You're a cool person. You're a cool cat.
You listen to this show.
I think you've got a lot of friends. Yeah, I think you've got a lot of friends you could probably tell about this show. So go do that. And a great place to send them is a very simple website, probsnotaliens.com. It's got links to all of our stuff. I say that, and I haven't updated it in like 2 years, so it probably doesn't have links to all of our stuff, but it's got links to most of our stuff. I think it actually does have a link to Google Podcasts, which isn't a thing anymore, so
cool.
I should probably update that. Anyway, that will do it for this episode. Until next time, for part 2 of Göbekli Tepe, my name is Scott Nicewander.
I'm Tristan Johnson. The truth is out there.
Probably.
Tristan's got his own soundboard now.
Yeah. I have no instinct to use it, but I don't have as many good sound effects like you do. I'm struggling.
No, I'm struggling. You know, we're in the post show now. We're in the after the stinger.
The post
right?
10 seconds of the show, yeah.
Hey, has it gotten annoying yet that I hit the soundboard so often? I don't think I hit it so often, but I think I might hit it just enough where it might be annoying. Is it annoying now? Let me know. Be
Am
honest.
I good, everybody? Tell me I'm good.
Am I good? Tell me I'm good. And if I'm not good, then...
What if it were true?
Oh, God.